What if I told you Dungeons & Dragons was the catalyst to me becoming a dominatrix? When I was in high school, I was out of the house as much as I could be, as many teens are. Though notably, my home environment really wasn't the best, so it became something beyond like casual fun, right? So I also want to preface this with like the dependence and the problems that were fostered during all this was probably also because there was just too much. There was too much hanging out. When I was in middle school, I think like 6th grade, my mother took us to this like religious, non-religious getaway retreat. I won't mention the organization name just because I feel a little weird about it, but they were more about like the social and the natural rather than the God-fearing aspects of religion, which was crazy. It was huge. I was raised Catholic, so it was kind of unheard of to attend a church with people who didn't believe in God. I mean, some of them did, but like they didn't necessarily believe in God. And like, when I say Catholic mother, I mean like extreme religious OCD psychosis type stuff. So this was big. This was big. The important part of this is that at this religious retreat, there was a group of kids beyond me and my siblings. And in this group of kids, there was someone we'll call Jay, and the clown prince of crime. You'll understand why they're called that soon enough. We talk about it in the interview, but we grew up in like bumfuck where town pretty much. It was surrounded by some bigger areas, but nothing like huge. Like I live in New York now. Small enough that there was a neighboring town where all their kids filed into our school in 8th grade. They brought like the worm as a dance trend too. Like imagine like a group of, I don't know, 15 8th graders doing the worm up on a stage in a cafeteria while a full-grown DJ is behind them. Anyways, I ended up befriending this group of kids. Didn't keep in contact, but we like played Mafia and Werewolf and everything, and we like got on pretty well. I feel like we did riddles or something, I don't remember, I don't know. But, you know, kid stuff. And it's interesting that we didn't really keep in contact because a lot of these kids went to my school or school systems really nearby. I also think it's important to give a little warning. There's some pretty upsetting topics in this video. I'll put like a list. And I want to protect the privacy of like pretty much everyone involved, but notably of those who have interacted with this individual. I'm extremely pro-growth, very, very pro-forgiveness. In the interview, that's touched on a little bit too. But yeah, people deserve to learn and grow and change, especially from shit that they did when they were children or like teens. The thing is, this individual recently reached out to a victim within the past few months. And we'll talk about it. You'll see it. We get a dramatic reading. But it's very weird, and I think you'll get why. I also want to say that there are definitely some like people who have been left out or unmentioned, just like on the outskirts of it, not involved enough to really be involved, but definitely were like there for it. So if any of them wanted to know what the f is going on, here is the story of the high school Polycule from hell. I don't know what's up with like technology and hating me right now, but my audio wasn't recorded during our interviews, so I'll be dubbing it.
I have me and I have you.
That's all you need, baby.
Hi, my name is Maya. I've been friends with Alice since we were in preschool. Had a lot of experiences that also she had in the world. One such experience was being in a horrible polycule in high school.
Could you give me one word to describe this polycule?
Um, like like nightmare. It's like a lore drop that I have to give everybody that I become close with, but it starts out like ha ha ha, this is so silly, and then like it becomes horrible and I have to be like, actually there's like a lot of trigger warnings that I have to give you about all of this stuff that happened, and it's actually not funny. It's funny to me now, but at the time it wasn't funny. Like the other day I was with a group of people and we were talking about our quote evil exes, and their evil exes were like, they were kind of a shitty boyfriend, ah ha ha. And I was like, yeah, this person's like a rapist, has like manipulated a large group of people, and like genuinely fucked up shit. It's given me a lot of perspective for minor issues in relationships. It's given me reason to be like, oh, actually, I deserve much better than this. This is stupid. I'm not gonna do this again. We grew up in a fairly small town. Everybody knew everybody else. And for context, the mother of the clown prince of crime worked in the same like volunteer organization as my mother. They knew each other. So I knew of this person previously, but I had never really interacted with them. And then actually the first time that I think I met them in person was at a mock trial tryout when I was like, I think I was 14 or 15. I think, a freshman in high school, and I was trying out for the mock trial team. And I had prepared meticulously because I'd done like advanced mock trial for middle school, and the coach was like, "Ah, you should try out for the high school team." Actually, this was kind of cruel of the mock trial coach because like they had never done mock trial before, so they didn't know how it worked. And so I watched their tryout, and it was like not the correct form of like how to do. I think they had to write like a cross examination and a direct examination, and they did not do it in the correct form. And then the coach was like, "Have you prepared for this at all?" Like, basically, like, fuck you and you suck. And then they did not get on the team. And that was the first time that I'd ever met them in person. Alice, do you want to talk about the inciting incident of the 3rd of July fireworks?
The inciting oh yeah, okay. Maya filled me in on some of the details, but basically we did volunteer work every year, and so when we were volunteering this year, I recognized the Clown Prince and J1 from our experience at the church camp.
We were like volunteering at the same event. I remember that because I remember you fucked off while we were selling ice cream, and I was like, there she goes. With love. No, no, it was fine. We had too many people working it anyway. It wasn't like you were like abandoning us, but you were going and schmoozing with them. And then I left for 2 weeks, like immediately after, because I went to a writing camp. I remember that I think you had texted me or something, and you were like, "Oh, I've been spending a lot of time with this group of people. We've been playing D&D. I'd never played D&D before at this point." You were like, "Oh, do you want to come hang out with me and these other people and play D&D with us?" And I was like, "Okay, yay!" And I think that I honestly started having feelings for the Clown Prince of Crime like pretty early on because they're a very like entertainer type personality. They were very, at the time, I believed, very charismatic in the way that they carried themselves. They had like command of a room when there was a group of people. I like kind of started having feelings for them. I had never dated anybody before because I was 15 or 16 at the time, but I wasn't like fully baked enough to like really engage with it. I was like not built for romance yet, but I know that like for a while it was like you were dating C, and I think you were dating like online. Well, you were being like flirty on the internet to various people, and I was your best friend since preschool and was really close to you and was also really close to C. And I think at some point you were like, both of you were like, if you ever wanted to join our relationship, we would say yes. And I said okay, and then I didn't. But we were like really, really close. We would hang out, the three of us, all the time. So it was kind of like a little bit of like a QPR situation, with the caveat that we were all like teenagers. I also want to say, as a disclaimer, I am still polyamorous. Like, this is not like polyamory is evil. This person specifically is evil. I also would say my take is that probably people in high school shouldn't be engaging in polyamory because they're like learning how to have relationships in general and navigating the dynamics of having multiple relationships. As somebody who's like still forming as a person is really difficult. I'm sure there are people out there that have done it in a way that was like okay. This was not that case. I think everybody was like still growing and learning, and so like a lot of poor decisions were made like on all parts, but the Cloud Prince of Crime was taking advantage of the fact that none of us knew what we were doing. So what happened actually before, which I think is important lore, C and Alice were still dating at this time, and I think you had said to me that you had feelings for question mark. I can't remember, but then also somebody else in the situation, who I'm going to call Jay, had said that they had feelings for you and also had feelings for me. And also, I later learned that they at the time were identifying as a straight man and didn't want to be gay. And so I was also at the time identifying as as like a woman. And so they had sort of suppressed their feelings for you and decided that instead they had feelings for me because they didn't want to be gay. You know how it is. Actually, there was another thing that kind of sucked. Like, sorry, I feel a little bit bad about this, but also I was like 16. You were going Christmas shopping for Christmas gifts. This was like during the week of winter break. And you had said to me, "Jay is going to ask you out sometime today." And I said, "Okay." And then there was like a moment where you were like at a candy shop and we went on a walk and we were looking over like the icy stream and the waterfall in this little town. And Jay was like, "Would you want to go out sometime maybe?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Okay." And then we stared at the waterfall for a while. And the other lore that's important to understand what was happening is that Jay and the Clown Prince were childhood best friends. They went to the same church. Both of them, I think, had talked to each other about having feelings for you, Alice. They also, importantly, had a best friend pact, which stated both of them had feelings for the same person. Neither of them would make a move on that person so as to prioritize their friendship with each other. So they had had a conversation where they agreed to not make a move on you because they both had feelings for you. I think that they also had that about me, but it was like less intense. The night of the sleepover occurs. So this was at our friend B's house. Remember this? And yeah, you and me and C was also there, and J was there, and the Clown Prince was there, and then I think like one other person was there. It was A, who also turns out to be a womp womp. Can't remember if H was there. Anyway, there were some other people that weren't directly involved in like this particular entanglement who were also there. B's parents had been like, we're separating you guys based on sex. So all of the girls sleep in this room and all of the boys sleep in this room. Actually, I don't think that C was there. And reminder that C was Alice's partner at the time. And I think that they had had like a conversation about maybe being like polyamorous in person before that. But I don't know if you guys like discussed the boundaries of what like making a move on someone was supposed to look like or not. But that's because you were both 16, whatever. It was me and Alice and B in the same room. And then it was the boys TM in the other room. But Alice was like, well, at the time, like identifying as a trans man, and was like, I kind of want to sleep in the boys' room. And we were like, we don't give a fuck. Also, important context for this night. Clown Prince was kind of cuddly with me, was like being very touchy-feely, and I was like, this is confirming to me that these feelings are mutual because they are flirting with me. And so I was very excited about that. Do you remember this interaction? Do you want to tell the part? This is also really messy, like with so much love. This part is messy and kind of funny, like teenager drama, but then it gets like very dark after this. So this is like the most lighthearted part of it.
I think it's really important to note here that our friend group was really touchy-feely. We would do cuddle puddles, we would hold hands, that was very normal. I get into this bed with these guys, I'm between J1 and the Clown Prince of Crime, and the Clown Prince of Crime starts feeling up on me and we start making out. Now, while this happens, J1 grabs my hand and continues to grab and squeeze really, really, really hard, so I went like dead weight in the hand, limp, because I was like, you know, ow. Also, I'm making out with this person, which is admittedly like not the classiest move. But then J1 got up and left.
It's 3 a.m. end of December in the Northeast where it is cold. And so they're wandering around outside, like ready to fucking end it all. And their sister, who also, important context, is the Clown Prince's ex-girlfriend, eventually like finds them, picks them up, they're okay. But also very devastated by what happened. But from my recollection, what happened is I woke up and you like sheepishly came into the room and were like, hey guys, you recounted the tale and were like, Jay is gone. I think that the Clown Prince was still there. I can't remember if they had left at this point because I feel like I remember you there, and I also remember being like really personally sad because I was like, oh, maybe I like misread all of their touching up on me. Why did they flirt with me all night and then make out with my best friend? That's not awesome, but I don't give a fuck now. But that was very confusing for me at the time. I think that C was kind of upset that you hadn't had a conversation about it before, but then also C was like, I actually also kind of have feelings for the Clown Prince. So perhaps what if we just share that thing? And that's on being polyamorous at 16. Jay was like really upset with the Clown Prince and reached out to them and was like, hey, like, you broke our best friend pact. That's fucked up. And so the Clown Prince said, okay, I won't see Alice anymore. In parentheses, lying. They were seeing Alice and also C at the same time, but not me for like a week. Like, I was like so sad. I was like, damn, that's crazy. That sucks. And then they texted me and they were like, another one? Question mark. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And they were dating all of us, but they were secretly dating Alice. I think they were also secretly dating me because they had the best friend pact and both of them had discussed having feelings for me as well. The Clown Prince of Crime was secretly dating me and Alice and publicly dating C. Every time that we were out as a friend group, which was often, they were allowed to be outwardly affectionate towards C, but not towards me or Alice. And then I was like, this sucks, it's stupid, and it sucks. And so I texted Jay, and I was like, it's stupid that you're banning the Clown Prince from dating Alice because Alice has said she doesn't have feelings for you, and so you have to respect her and you should respect your best friend. Jay was like, okay, just never talk to the clown prince again. We were all like, I guess fuck Jay. So that wasn't very nice of us, but also they were kind of behaving like a freak because all of us were behaving like freaks. I don't actually condone any of the actions that we did, but also we were 16. So we're just dishing it out. The people can make their judgments, but this is all with the asterisk that we were 16 years old. This was like the messiest thing that I've ever done, and I think that it's very important to my lore and also your lore that UNC aren't on like awesome terms anymore, but like I don't feel hold any resentment for like anybody else in this situation other than the clown prince. Like I'm on like decent terms with everybody else in this situation. People can have other outcomes.
I would like to note here that I really don't hold resentment for anyone from this time period, or kind of anyone period. I just don't have the energy for it anymore at this point, and also like, I don't know. Everyone grows and learns and changes.
What were we talking about before? Just sort of remove themselves from the situation. And then we were dating, the three of us, for a while. And like I wasn't experiencing this, but I think that on your end there was like some tension between you and C. And then I think C broke up with you. And then you got back together. And then you broke up again. I can't remember. Actually, I think that you broke up with the Clown Prince first, and then C broke up with you.
We debated this here, but I actually think that Maya is right. I recalled it as like the Clown Prince just kind of stopping talking to me after C and I broke up, but I could see it going either way, and I don't think my recollection is as good as I think it is.
I think also what caused a lot of tension, the Clown Prince told me a version of a story about you getting assaulted that was different than the story that they told you, and also different than the story that they told C. The Clown Prince was feeding us different information about an altercation that happened that caused people to react differently to interacting with Jay again. I was told a different version where it was like more ambiguous whether it was assault. This was like post you breaking it off with the Clown Prince and C. The Clown Prince was feeding me and C different information than they had told you, which meant that we started hanging out with Jay again, but you didn't feel safe to do so. We kind of stopped talking for a while. And so me and C kept dating the Clown Prince for like the summer, and then the Clown Prince went off to their freshman year of college.
I would love to note that they were caught flirting with a freshman when they were about to go off to college.
Once again, always discuss the parameters of your polyamory because there are some versions of polyamory where it's totally fine to go like hit up random people. We had sort of stated that we wanted, and like we didn't say this as explicitly as we should have, but we were kind of like a closed polycule. If somebody else wanted to get in, that was like a discussion that had to be had instead of like, I'm just gonna go like get my wet with random people. That was sort of the understanding that we had. I think that C was still seeing them at this time. So while we were all going to high school together, C and I were both still dating them. And I guess like they had been trying to pick up this girl. I told C about it, and C had been like, that's not cool. Then neither C nor the Clown Prince told me about it. And I think B told me about it. And you were like, we should tell Maya. And then C was like, no, don't tell Maya. It's not worth it or something. B told me, and I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if the Clown Prince is going to tell me about that when I see them today. They did not. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm never going to bring this up then, which probably wasn't awesome of me, but like also whatever. I like knew about it. They never told me about it. We had like a fine summer together, and then they go off to college. And this is when C breaks up with them, which is that they are telling me and C very different tales of their like escapades at college. I think that you and C had sort of like mended your relationship mostly like you were friends. And you and C and B and I were hanging out at B's house. Me and C were comparing notes about what was telling us about their life. Started at B's house, and then we went to open mic, and then we went to the park. When we were at B's house, C was like, oh, did they tell you that they did LSD? And I was like, no, they told me nothing about that. And then C was like, oh yeah, they did this, 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 and this. And then C was like, did they tell you about the girl that they've been flirting with? And I was like, no, actually not at all. And so then I started crying. And then we like went out, and then we were sitting in a park, and I was still crying. And then Steve was like, all right, I've had enough of this fucking asshole, and called them and broke up with them. I think I actually called them and they didn't pick up because they were at like a show or something. So then texted them and said, I'm breaking up with you, you suck. And then their response was three M's. So then I was like really, really upset. but I didn't break up with them. I called them the next day and I was like, I'm really upset with you. It's really frustrating that you were telling C different things about your life than you were telling me. It feels like you don't trust me. I don't know. I was also like 16, so the concept of somebody doing LSD was like scary to me. And I was like, why didn't you tell me about this? Why didn't you tell me about this girl? Because the lore about this is that before they left, they said, I still want to be in a relationship with you and C. I'm not interested in dating anyone else. Quote, sorry, she's going after my earrings. Quote, don't worry, I don't fall in love easily, is what they said to me. And then fucked off to college. And then they went on this backpacking trip for orientation. Immediately caught feelings for this girl and asked C, and I like hook up with this girl? And C said no. Didn't bring it up to me at all. Didn't mention it to me at all. I learned this from C, and I was like, please, like, why are you telling us different information? That's like fucked up. Makes me feel like you don't trust me. I understand that you're at college and like experiencing being independent for the first time, blah, 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 whatever. But like, I would appreciate it if you like called me regularly, didn't ghost me every time you said you were going to call me, and also like told me about things that are happening in your life and not keep secrets from me that you're telling to your other partner, because that's weird. Excuse me, ma'am, you're not allowed to do that. So yeah, and so C had broken up with them at this point, and I think like what's happening will be evidence of this in the future as well. But I think that they like put me up on this pedestal as like this like beautiful like innocent baby who like can do no wrong and is purely good. It's like the Madonna horror complex thing where I am the Madonna, I am mommy, and so I can do no wrong. They can't tell me anything that ever that they've done that's bad because that will like tarnish my perception of them. And so they were telling Cecil all of the stuff that they were doing that was like risky or like asking them permission to other people and like not bringing it up with me at all. Not epic, but I was like, be better for me and I'll keep dating you. And they were like, okay. And then like they weren't, but I kept dating them anyway. Like they would always, and like it's, I don't know, personally, if I were to do this again, I would just have broken up with them. Or like if I was the person going into college dating a high schooler, I would have broken up with the person that was still in high school. Like as I am now, that's what I would have done, but I was 16, 17, so I didn't do that. I kept dating them like long distance for like a year and a half. And like they would always like say, oh, we're gonna call at this time, and then ghost me for 2 hours, and I would stay up waiting for them to call me like all the time. And actually, there's something that I don't remember, but like my aunt was telling me about how she decided that she didn't like the clown prince because one time, this is while we were dating like in person, it was like around the holidays, and they said that they were gonna come over, and then they were like 3 hours late, and I waited for them for like 3 hours just waiting for them. And that's when my aunt decided that she didn't like them because they also they slept through my senior project. I worked so hard on that. It was like a senior, like essentially like a capstone that the high school seniors do. And it was like the height of COVID, so we had it on Zoom. I had worked really hard on my presentation and I had invited them to come, and they slept through it. They were there for the last 5 minutes after I had finished the presentation, and they're like, I slept through it. So that was kind of shitty. I went to their presentation, which was bad. It was nothing, not to be a bitch, sorry, but it was kind of nothing. It was like, here's how teams work together. Anybody who finished their senior project got honors, but they said that I would get honors anyway, even if I hadn't done it on Zoom on account of COVID. And I was doing like tea chemistry. I was proud of that. So, for context, I consider myself to be like on the asexual spectrum. I feel like I don't really experience like sexual arousal or attraction in like an allosexual way. Like I get around. I hook up with people, and I think I'm like getting experience more now where I feel more comfortable in my body. Like also like I'm trans. I've like had gender affirming surgery. I feel more comfortable in myself, which makes me more willing to like experience with different kinds of people. But even so, even a more comfortable state where I feel more present in my body, it's still like very difficult for me to stay in the moment. And like I will witness my partners when we're like engaging intimately, and I'm like, they seem to be having a lot more fun than I am. I don't think it's that serious, really. At the time, I was identifying as a cis woman. I was like dissociating like most of the time. I was like not very present in my body, and we were having, and this was bad. Okay, fine. You're like a high schooler. You're not going to be good at the skill that you learn. This was bad. This was nothing. Like they would just we can I get explicit here? Is that allowed? We would bone, and then they would minutes and then we would be done. After I broke up with them, I was like so afraid that I would be a bad kisser. I was like so embarrassed. I was like, the only person that I've kissed long term is this person who has gotten like negative reviews on kissing all around. But I got lots of practice after I broke up with them, and I've been getting good reviews on kissing. Well, I don't know. I think that I'm not anti-biting. I was talking to one of the people that I'm seeing right now, and they were like, one of my like primary partner boundaries is that you can't like eat other people's blood or like exchange blood with people because that's like sacred. That's like spiritual and important. So anyway, they sucked at kissing. The was bad. I was like, I don't like having with you. And they were like, what if we explored kink? And I was like, okay. And it still sucked. And this is, I also am very pro kink. I'm engaging in kink now as like an adult who like has boundaries and also is doing it with people that I trust. And like, I don't know. I will say, with all fairness, totally fine for people who are growing up to like experiment with in different ways. Totally fine and like it's normal to not be good at you start having because it's a skill that you learn. And so there's no shame in being kind of bad at you begin, but it's all about like listening to people's feedback and growing together with partners who you trust.
I just mentioned the inherent lack of trust also that comes from being in a relationship with someone who's like manipulative or abusive. It's automatically tainting kink, and kink is already hard to navigate as like a younger individual.
To get TMI, it didn't really give me any room to do anything other than be like a sub. It was kind of like, I'm not having any experience in my body right now. And like, I don't know. I will say that on my part, I don't think that they ever explicitly scolded me, like to my recollection. However, they did say whack shit to me. So also like leading up to our breakup, we were dating long distance for like a year and a half. Like absolutely, I think actually 2 out of the 3 years that we were dating, we were long distance, which is probably why I stayed with them for so long because I never saw them. And so like for 1 year they were in college and then COVID hit in the middle of their freshman year, so they got sent home. I was like finishing my last year of high school. So we were doing like remote school together. And then the summer of 2020 happened. And then I went off to college. And I think that they were doing remote school fall of 2020. And I was doing in person school fall of 2020. At this time, I'm pretty sure that we were like doing like monogamy, like closed monogamous relationship. They were being kind of a freak about it. Like, I was telling them that I was gonna hang out with this guy, and they got like really jealous about it. They were like, oh, and like to be fair, this guy was trying to hit, but I was like, I'm in a relationship, I'm not interested. I fended him off because I wasn't interested because I was loyal to my partner. Another time where I was wearing a ring on my finger, like a silver ring. That was my grandmother's. It was my grandmother's ring. And I was like calling them, and I was a freshman in college. And they were like, where did you get that ring? And I was like, my grandmother's. And they were like, okay, well, I thought that it was maybe like one of your lovers or something. Like, I thought maybe you were cheating on me and they gave you a ring. And I was like, okay, it's a fucking ring. Sorry, I'm wearing my grandmother's ring, bro. Also, given the fact that they tried to cheat on me twice and then they're thinking that I'm cheating on them, which I have never done. We dated like all of my freshman year and then half of my sophomore year of college. And then they came to visit me for fall break and I was like, also, like, we had broken up and then I'd taken them back because I'm stupid. I would talk to you and I'd be like, Alice, I think I should break up with the Clown Prince. And you'd be like, yes, you should. And then I'd be like, but I don't want to lose them as a friend. And you were like, you should just break up with them. And then I would break up with them and then get back together with them 2 days later. And I think I did that like 2 or 3 times. My bad. Sorry. They came and visited for fall break, which is like a 4-day weekend. They forgot to bring deodorant. They didn't ask me for deodorant for some reason. And so they just smelled really bad the whole time. And it was pissing me the off. I was like, why are you stinky? Like, why do you have crazy BO and you're around all of my college friends and you smell so bad? And they were just being like, I don't know. And they were also just like pissing me off. Like things that I used to find endearing were just rubbing me the wrong way. And I was like, I hate this actually. I'm embarrassed that you're here. And on the last day, I was like, they were like, haha, I forgot my deodorant. And I was like, I have deodorant. We also live, I have a car. We live next to a grocery store. They sell deodorant at the bookstore. Why were you stinky for 4 days in front of my friends? And then they left, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so then I was like guiltily still dating them long distance for 2 months. And then it was finals week. And believe it or not, I was working on my finals. and then like hanging out with my friends. And they were like, "Do you want to call?" And I was like, "I'm actually busy." And we were calling like a lot. We would watch a lot of TV shows on Netflix, Party, etc. on like for the long distance reasons. They were like, "Oh, do you want to call?" And I was like, "I think I'm actually busy. I don't think I can call." I think I said like maybe, and then I didn't call it. Like I didn't text them back because I was like working on my finals and hanging out with my friends during finals week. And they texted me and they were like, they were being like bitchly about it. They were like, "I can't believe you didn't call me, like blah 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 blah." And it's like, first of all, it's finals week. Second of all, you do this to me all the time. Like, I think that once I started going to college and I had like a social life, because I was also like supremely depressed my senior year of college. I think like the dysphoria was hitting. I was just like not eating enough. I was like feeling horrible, like I wasn't a real person for like that entire year. But then when I went to college, I started also like exploring my gender identity. I started meeting a lot of really cool people, and I had like a very fleshed out social life. And so I was like, I actually don't rely on this one person for my happiness and fulfillment anymore. It didn't really affect me if they would fucking ghost me for 2 hours because I had like a social life. But then when I did that to them one time by accident because it was finals week, they got really pissy at me. We had tried being in an open relationship again, and they got mad at me for going on dates with the people, even though we'd explicitly said that we were trying to be open again. But I was still being like really close and like uncomfortably close with them. Like after we had broken up, like we were still having sleepovers. We just weren't like kissing or f***ing or anything. So I can't remember if this happened before or after we broke up, but I went over to their house and they got supremely drunk on like four dark and stormies. They started crying and they said, "I just really, quote, I just really am afraid that I'm going to you. Like, I'm afraid that I'm going to you," they said to me. And I said, "Okay." And then they threw up all over themselves. Then winter break rolls around and I'm in person with them. And like the first week happens and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And so we're having a sleepover and I'm like, "Hey, I think we need to break up for real. Like, we can be like touchy feely, like dating for winter break, but after winter break is over, we are not dating anymore." And they were like, "Okay." Incident during winter break. They got really drunk and then said they were gonna kill themselves. Remember that? We were also like having a family game night with their entire like immediate family. They drank like 3 glasses of wine and they were like, "Guys, I'm gonna," like, you guys were, to my understanding, like friends, and I had just broken up with them, but like you guys were cool with each other, and I was still like, I still really cared about both of you and wanted you both to be in my life. So this was like, I think a week after I said that I was breaking up with them after winter break was over. And then they got drunk off their ass and confessed to their entire family and also you and me that they're gonna kill themselves during winter break and they have a plan. So, and then their parents were like, "Don't kill yourself, you're so sexy, ah ha ha," and then left me and Alice to babysit them. They were like so off their ass drunks. And then we brought them upstairs to their bed and we were trying to like make sure they didn't choke on their own vomit, but also trying to go to bed. And then they started freaking out. "Tell me, Alice, tell me the full name of your rapist so that I can kill him and then kill myself." And we were like, "We're not going to tell you that." And then they grabbed my ankle and twisted it as hard as they could and said, like, "I'm going to keep hurting you until you tell me the name of us." And I said, "You're acting like a man right now." And they said, "Don't call me that." And I started crying. And then they started like trying to bone us both. And we were like, "Nah." It wasn't awesome. And that night ended. And I was like, "Please don't." And they were like, "I won't." And then we were still like really close after that for some reason. This was after we like had broken up. And we were so bored that we started fucking again. We both got COVID. And so we were isolating together in my room. And then I went back to college and I was like, "Okay, now we're broken up." We were still talking a lot. So like honestly, not cool on my part. I wouldn't do this again. It's like I did not handle this well and I admit to that. Like this wasn't awesome of me, sorry. But we were still like really close. But we weren't dating, and I've been very explicit about us not dating. We're not being romantic. And then 2 months after we broke up, they sent me a fucking Valentine's Day gift. It was like a ring, and they were like, "Hope it's okay that I sent this to you, even though we've been broken up for 2 months." Then I don't know, we were still talking. My sophomore year of college ends, and I start being interested in this other person, J2. I realize that we have mutual feelings for each other, like literally the last week of college. He's graduating. He has nothing to do over the summer. I'm like, "What if you came and stayed with me in my childhood home for like a few weeks over the summer?" Basically, we went on vacation. I went on family vacation with my family in Maine. I bring the clown prince with me, even though we've been broken up, because we're still pretty tight. Um, I'm kind of miserable the whole time. I take an edible that my brother gave me. I take way too much of the edible. I feel horribly sick to my stomach and I start throwing up all of my dinner into the toilet. And the clown prince is trying to comfort me, but I'm having like sensory, oh, like I'm feeling very overstimulated. I'm like, please do not touch me at all. And then I like make my dad come. It was actually like a beautiful like father-child bonding experience. And kept saying bullshit like, "Oh, I bet that they're just really glad that we're here together right now." And I was getting like really pissed off at them in my like drug-addled state. I was like, "I don't even like you." And then also during this hangout, this was like after I think it was maybe before I got high, but like I called J2 while the Clown Prince was there. And I hadn't explicitly told the Clown Prince that I was seeing him, but I was like, well, we're not dating, so I don't really need to disclose that information. And I feel like there might be weird feelings about it, but I really value the Clown Prince, so I want them to be part of my life. And that includes like knowing other people that I might be romantically interested in. And so I call J2, and the Clown Prince after the call is like, oh, so like you have feelings for him, right? And I was like, yeah, I think we're maybe having like a flirty vibe. And then they get really upset at me and they're like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Like, you have to tell me things like that. And I was like, okay. And then I felt really guilty because I felt like I'd done something wrong. And so we were being like very touchy-feely for the rest of that family vacation. But also, I was feeling kind of miserable the whole time because I was like, this sucks. I don't want to be in this relationship. Like, I'm not dating you anymore. And then I got, because I knew that J2 was visiting me, so I got him some gifts. Like, I got him like some incense because he was like, oh, like pine incense is like my favorite kind of incense. And I like wrapped it up and I put like a cute little wax seal on it. I like bought a book for the Clown Prince that the Clown Prince wanted at like a thrift store. And then later the Clown Prince like started broke down and cried to me and was like, I just feel really sad that you're interested in someone else and you don't feel like that for me anymore. Like I want you to get me a gift. I bought them a book. Bitch, f you. I'm not dating you. I took you on family vacation. You're in this Airbnb, drinking all my parents' alcohol, eating all this food, being like, you didn't get me a gift. You're on vacation with me right now. The camping trip. Do you recall the camping trip? You were there. I don't know if you remember this, but this was like the same summer. I think this was post horrible family vacation with the Clown Prince. You and J1, original J, are like on okay terms at this point. They are like, I bought a bunch of alcohol. Let's go camping in your backyard. I have a big tent and an air mattress. We're just gonna get drunk in the woods. I have a work meeting at like 7 a.m. the next morning, but I'm like, so I'm not gonna go crazy. You and Jay get like fucking blasted, and you're having like a very drunken, like heart to heart like I don't feel resentment for you anymore, blah blah blah. Like there's no hard feelings. I think you say like we mentioned briefly like the allegations against them. You're like I don't feel resentment for you about these allegations. Like worse shit has happened to me, and they're like I literally have no idea what you're talking about at all. Interesting. Then they say also I heard some weird stuff about the Clown Prince from my sister. It seems like maybe they inadvertently assaulted her when they were together, and my sister wants nothing to do with them. They didn't say like outright that the Clown Prince had like raped her, but like maybe there was some miscommunication that resulted in assault. We're like, okay, that's fucked up. Probably we should bring it up with them at some point. J2, the person from my college, visits, and we're sort of having like a summer fling situation. And me and my naivete, that people can be adults. And like to be fair, I don't think that I would put an ex in this situation again. Like this was fucked up on my part. Like I wouldn't do this again. But like me and the Clown Prince had said we are on okay terms. Like we're fine with just being friends if I bring J2 to your house and like show him to you and you guys meet, it will be normal. Also, we've like been poly before, so I thought that because we had been polyamorous before, we could like understand holding care for multiple people at one time. And I understand like being sad that you don't have that relationship with me anymore. But if you say that it's okay to put you in this situation, I am going to believe you. I wouldn't do this to an ex again. But at the time, I thought it would be okay because they told me it would be okay. I was like, J2, you're going to meet the Clown Prince, who is my ex, but also still my close friend. And also Alice, and I think the Clown Prince's brother was there too. So we go over to the Clown Prince's house. It's okay, except they're really sad the whole time. To the surprise of no one, they get blackout drunk and start crying on the floor, and Alice has to comfort them. I am too inebriated to go home. Also, this is another day where I have like my fucking service job at like 8 a.m. the next morning, 7 or 8 a.m. the next morning, so I have to get up at like 5 to go back to my house and get ready.
Maya and J2 sleep in one living room, and then me, the Clown Prince, and the Clown Prince's brother in the other. Basically, the clown prince ends up grabbing me really inappropriately while I'm trying to comfort them. And then I get up and I go to the bathroom and I cry for 5 hours, realizing that for the past like year, they've been assaulting me every time we've gotten drunk as like a group of friends. I remember having the conscious thought that I was overreacting because I had literally just been. No, I should have trusted my intuition.
You woke me up, it was like 5 a.m. or something, and you were like, "Can we please go outside into your car? I need to discuss something with you." And I was like, "Okay." So we go into my car, and to my recollection, you say, "I've just realized that tonight and also like for like an extended period of time, the clown prince of crime has been feeling me up in like a way that is inappropriate. Like they've been like kind of me this whole time, and like because of your like previous experiences with you had thought that you were reading into it, but at this point you realize like no, actually I should trust my instincts. This is not an appropriate way to touch a friend." So I was like, okay, like don't worry about it. You don't have to talk to them about it. I will talk to them about it. And I went to my 8 hour shift. I worked at an ice cream shop at the time, like an ice cream shop farm stand, and the ice cream freezers were broken. And so my boss was like yelling at me for 8 hours while I was like, I'm holding the horrors inside of my heart. And then I like went home and I like went to J2 and I just burst into tears and I was like, guess what I just found out? I ghosted them for like a week. The Clown Prince was like, "Do you want to see this movie together?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm planning to see that with J2." And they were like, "Whoa, I thought that J2 had left already." And I was like, "No, he's staying an extra week." And they were like, "Oh, okay. Do you know why Alice isn't talking to me?" And I was like, "Boy, do I." And so I called them and I was like, "Hey, uh, Alice told me that you've been assaulting her for like a year. So that's pretty fucked up, and I kind of don't want to talk to you right now because that's pretty fucked up that you do that to my best friend." And they were like, "I thought that she was into it." And I was like, "Okay." And then I didn't talk to them for 3 years. They were like, "I'm sorry for all of the ways that I've like been a bad, like blah 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 blah. Like I felt these gulfs in my relationships, but I've decided not to do anything about them, and I promise that I'll become better." And then I didn't respond. And a year later, they texted me happy birthday at 12:04 a.m. on my birthday. And I didn't respond to that. And then also, like later that summer, I was hanging out with J1, original J, whose sister was the Clown Prince of Crime's ex-girlfriend. And Jay said to me, "By the way, I had disclosed like the information about you, Alice, to them to be like, hey, like it's like for real fucked up, by the way." And they were like, "Yeah, actually, like my sister has disclosed to me that it was like very explicit, like textbook, like they repeatedly raped her when they were together." And like different C than your ex-partner C, a different C of J1's sister. And the Clown Prince has been shit talking her to us this whole time and being like, B2 is like such a horrible girlfriend, and honestly, she was kind of abusive. And then we would like be in the same room as her, and she would be like so quiet and like reserved. Little did we know that the Clown Prince had been the whole time, and we just didn't know about it. I can give the text update from 3 years. I hadn't spoken to them in 3 entire years. After I was like, "You must my best friend goodbye," because I'm normal and I don't hang out with the. That's my boundary. Like that is not to say that like my hot take also is that I'm all for like restorative justice. People can like horribly and learn and grow from there, right? Like just because somebody wrongs me and my friends in ways where I don't want to have a personal relationship with them doesn't mean that I think that they should like die in hell. My belief is that like I don't want this person to like die. I don't want them to like not have a fulfilling life. I just feel no need to have them in my life because they've hurt me and they've hurt people that I care about. And so I don't want them to be somebody that I associate with anymore. And I think that people should experience natural consequences because, like, I feel like our justice system doesn't do a really good job of punishing people specifically who perpetrate sexual crimes. But I think that people deserve to experience the natural consequences of people not wanting to be around them if they're a fucking rapist. So, yeah, the last text that I've had for them, you want me to just read them? So, first, like, this was like after our call, they were like, and this was in like 2022. I think the summer of 2022, they say, I'm sorry I left things all weird. I just feel lost and angry and unmoored. I'll really be okay. I am safe, and this is just part of me becoming well. I'm sorry I hurt you and J2 and Alice. I have no excuse and no explanation. Even if I did, it wouldn't merit absolution. And I'll work on learning forgiveness. You all deserve better than I've given. I'm sorry I made you feel this weight between us with my obliviousness. It's even more than obliviousness. I felt these gulfs in my relationships and have been too cowardly to confront them. I put the burden of addressing this on you, and that was unfair. And that was in July of 2022. January of 2023, actually, I'm sorry, I revised my previous statement. It wasn't 12:04, it was 12:19 a.m. on the day of my birth. They text me, happy birthday. I do not respond. 2 years later, this was this summer. And mind you, I was on a wilderness camping trip in the woods of Canada. I was away from my phone. I was like canoe camping with like my father and my brother. So I didn't have my phone for a week because I was like in the woods and I didn't want to bring my phone in the woods, whatever. They text me. Here we go. This is the dramatic reading. Hello. Two paragraph, like two enters. I totally understand if you don't want to talk to me, and I'm trying not to ask too much of you. Semicolon. I hope my texting you is not too upsetting. Semicolon. I don't want to upset you. I'm trying to be a better person and lover and friend, and I was wondering whether you had any recommendations on what I should focus on as I pursue this. I'm so sorry that I hurt you so much. I'm really trying not to repeat my mistakes, and I want to engage with any advice you can give me. If I'm asking too much, it's totally reasonable not to want to respond. Semicolon. Don't stress about leaving me in the air. I don't want to be causing more upset by opening in old wounds, but I want to be my best self for all of the relationships I pursue. And sorry, the cat is fucking biting me right now. And you've seen me seriously, girl, you've seen me seriously and deeply and painfully in ways I don't know whether I fully grappled with. Regardless, I hope you're doing well. I wish the best for you, and I'm sorry I couldn't bring better to you. I think there's a typo here. I want you to flourish under the life you've chosen, and I have no doubt that you will. Where I am troubled and tumultuous, where you are steady and true. No matter where the world shakes you out, it's hard for me to imagine you struggling profoundly, and I hope my judgment is an accurate one. You hold a serious place in my heart, and you don't need to ever respond to maintain it. I'm sorry I wasn't more bright and open and true, but I want to be what I can, in parentheses, which is why I'm writing to you, close parentheses. This keeps going. I don't want to be a monster to you for always. I want to repent and be shameful and honor the goodness you've given me and be better in the life I lead, even if you are not in it. I don't know what else to say. I am trying to be better, and I trust you to know what that means for me and my needs, in parentheses, based on when we last talked, close parentheses. I feel so stupid. I just want to be better, and I trust you to know better than I do what that entails, even though I am more than what I was when we parted. I know it's too much to ask you to help me, but I know you want nothing more. You want more for me than nothing. I don't know what else to say, and yet there are like 5 more paragraphs. But I want to make sure I've said enough. I am really afraid that I haven't demonstrated my thought and deliberation and care. I really am trying to be careful. I don't want anything from you and won't pester you for more than you want to share and what you want me to consider. I just want to be disconnected from you, if that makes sense. I want to become a person you could talk to if we had no history, because I understand there's too much to make our relationship salvageable. I keep feeling like I'm coming across as evil. People. I don't want anything from you except advice on how to become a fuller person. Stop people. I know that's already a lot, but I'm not trying to reinvigorate this in any sort of relationship with you beyond that. And I want to give you the opportunity to guide that growth because we've been so close to me. I see you as so brave and piercing and insightful. Also, I don't know if you've read any Borges, but you'd really like it. Circular Runes is only 6 pages. And then Akbar Tuan Orbis Tetri, sorry, I'm mispronouncing it probably. It's slightly longer, but I think you'd really, really like it. End text. Clown Prince of Crime, I blocked you after this. I feel like perhaps you were watching this. My advice to you, stop raping people. I don't want to talk to you ever again. Heart emoji. Beware of the entertainer personality type sometimes. Not always. Sometimes people who love to be the center of attention are freaks.
So, that was the story of the clown prince of crime, the high school polycule from hell, and why I'm a dominatrix. And you might be saying, how does that connect to being a dominatrix? And what I'd say is, my job is born out of my psychology. I definitely think my experiences with this individual severely impacted me in this area. And I don't say all of this just to shit on them, truly. This is more because, like, this is insane. This is an insane thing to go through when you're fucking 16 years old. One final note, thank you so much to Maya for talking with me about this. I know that, like, yes, it is partially my story, but so much of this happened to them. I'm just really, really grateful that I went through that with them and that I was able to be there with them when they were going through stuff in regards to that as well. So I love you so much, and I'm so glad you've been my friend for so long, and I'm so grateful that you had this little interview with me.